Hello and welcome to this episode of Unconventional Creatives. This is Stacy from Tableau Creative, flying solo today. You are about to watch our interview with Sonia. She's a DJ, experimental artist, and founder of Biblioteca Records. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and keep on watching. Sonia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Welcome to my home and my space.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us here. So I want to start going way back. When did music first come into your life? Is it something that you've always loved as a kid, or did you start taking it more seriously later on in life?
That's a good question. I wouldn't say I grew up in a particularly musical family. Like, my mom's not very musical. My dad always played like accordion and guitar, but not like in any professional aspect. My parents tried to get me to take guitar lessons, but they hurt my hands. My hands were too small. I was like, I'm not doing this. It's not the instrument for me. So I kind of gave up on it. And then in middle school, I played trumpet and in the middle school band. I wasn't particularly good. I played drums. So I weaved in and out of playing instruments without any particular aim or goal. Here and there, a couple of pseudo bands that lasted about a week or so, and then I kind of stepped away from music basically until I left college as a player, and then I came back to it in my mid to late 20s as somebody who wanted to play it and make it. But in between then, when I was studying journalism, I was always involved in the music scene as a writer and as a listener. It never really left my life, except for when I was making it. I was still always writing about it. I was always talking about it. When I studied journalism, I was writing mostly about bands and bands that I liked and going to concerts and doing reviews. It seems like it was always something inside my life that I wanted to project and share with other people.
Was there a certain moment when you realized that you wanted to make the pivot from journalism or writing to music, or is it still something that you like to practice?
I definitely still dabble in the writing and journalism aspects of it, but I think the pivot was when I started throwing parties in around 2018, and I was like, oh, I gotta hire a DJ for the party. And then I was like, wait, I could be the DJ for the party because I know so much good music, and all I have to do is learn how to DJ. And then it just kind of clicked that I was like, this is just a very natural extension of my desire to share music in just a more live setting. Instead of writing a blog post about an album, I now have an hour that I can share 60 to 100 songs. And it was a very, natural switch to me. I learned how to DJ because I had a bunch of friends that were already doing it at the time. And I was like, I'm just going to keep doing it. And then and then in regards to making music, I just started going to modular synth meetup groups, and it felt so real. I was like, this is the instrument for me, not a guitar. I was so into the DIY aspect of it that I was like, this has to be something that I want to play.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask if you're mostly self-taught. Where do you find a modular synth group?
There's a really good modular synth group in Toronto called Frequency Freaks that's run by my now friend Paul Stillwell, and of course now it's digital, but before they would meet virtual, but before they would meet once a month and do little performances and stuff. So I started going there, and that's where I met other people that were doing this for a long time and taught me about it. The Mo store, which used to be on Queen Street, which shut down last year, they had employees that would do workshops, introduction to modular synth. So I started going to those and learning a lot about it there. And it was a very welcoming, friendly environment because it's such a DIY aspect, and it is such an expensive hobby that a lot of people that are in it understand that and are very eager to teach you about it so you don't make the same mistakes that they did. So you're not spending thousands of dollars on gear that you're never going to use. It's a really welcoming community, at least it was for me here in Toronto.
And is that something that you feel like you want to contribute back to, and when you gain that experience you want to share your knowledge with other people too?
Yeah, definitely. I love teaching. I love talking to people. I've already hosted a couple of introduction to modular synth for absolute beginners workshops that I did with Heidi Chan and Paul Stillwell to explain them and explain the difference to people who are brand new to any kind of synthesizer, the difference between an analog synth and a modular synth, and how to build your first Eurorack kit. Because when I first got into it, I went to the Moog store, and Heidi Chan, who's a really nice musician in the city, and she also hosts a podcast called Gears for Queers with Laura Dickens, but I went to the Moster where Heidi Chan was working, and I was like, hey, like, I am new to this, I don't know what I'm doing, can you help me? And she printed out like a whole invoice of like what a beginner set would look like, and it helped me so much. And I think that's why I had such a positive experience in modular synth, which is extremely like full of men who have a lot of money to play with these toys. But because I was welcomed into it by a woman, I guess want to like extend that hand of like friendship back to other people who are curious about it, because it can be prohibitive, it can be scary. Like, you may not know a lot about it at all and might feel silly asking questions, but I always like to remind people that it's good to be a beginner, and we were all beginners at some point. And that's why I try to do all the workshops that I do are geared very much towards like 0 level people. I'm just gonna have some water.
You mentioned that the synth kind of spoke to you as your instrument. Was there any like, what were your early musical influences, and do you feel like that led you toward the type of music that you're making now, or did you kind of create your own genre based on like what maybe other influences outside of music that inspire you instead?
I always think that it's so interesting how my music taste pivoted. Like, when I was growing up, I was listening to a lot of like My Chem and like emo and hardcore and all this stuff, like always going to go see bands. I never really thought about music as something that existed outside of a band context. I always thought about like, oh, it's a guitar and a bass player and a drummer. And then when I was younger, I used to go to the library and take out CDs of like just whatever cover I'd like to see. And I heard like Daft Punk's album Human After All, and I was like, what? Like, I was like 12 years old, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe that there's like, this is what music could be. You know, like, I didn't think about it as a band anymore. Like, now it was just sound. It was very encompassing for me. Like, I know that everybody cites Daft Punk as an influence, but like, that was a very like eye-opening moment for me as a 12-year-old to like think about music as something greater than itself. Like, it's not just like the sum of these parts of this band, it's this all-encompassing sound, and it can be anything. And then later on, when I started learning about synthesizers and like other kinds of music, like ambient stuff, like techno, when I started getting into dance music and house music, like that really changed the game for me. I think that really pivoted me into this new direction of like music discovery, of like down these avenues and streets that I had never even thought existed before. Dance music really like opened up a bunch of new doors for me.
So I'm wondering what the process of your creation looks like. Because I know you're doing this by yourself and you're not with a band, and from like ideation to recording, can you talk me through what that looks like?
Definitely. I mean, I'm a big like experimental music person. I always talk so much about like being freeform and experimenting and going with the flow. And I think a large part of my process is understanding that there isn't really a process. I really very much like modular synth because, and I always say this in interviews, but like it very much plays itself. Like, I could set a patch today and then leave it and then come back tomorrow morning and it would be playing a different thing. Like, I could turn it back on, it would sound different for some reason. The synth kind of like decides for itself how it wants to sound. You could just move a knob slightly and it would change the whole pattern. And to me, that is like pure improvisation, and it forces me to like be ready for whatever happens with it. So I feel like I have to work in conjunction with the synth. Like, if I had a band member, that would be like the band member, because it plays with me. We work like together. I don't feel like I'm the one completely controlling it, just like I don't feel like it's the one that it's making all its own choices. So I guess, my process is very much about improvisation and being freeform. There was a time, for a long time I never recorded anything. I never recorded any music. I just did live performances that were 100% improv, and sometimes I would bring like other drum machines with me, and sometimes it would just be the synthesizer. And it was very freeform. It was very like loose and let go, and that was a huge part of my process for a really long time. It's just have none. I think now it's a little bit different. Now my process is go play freeform, and then anytime I hear like a patch or a sound that I like a rhythm, I record that. And then what I do later is I take all these little bits of sound, bits of song, and then I put them into, the computer, and then I rearrange them within the computer to make a more cohesive song. So that's what I'm into doing now. So now it's more like collage work.
And I know you incorporate like other pieces as well. Like I can see the crystal singing bowl and a hand pan here in your space.
Yeah, I love to use raw instrumentals as well. It's something that's kind of new to me. I used to never use like bowls and drums, but in the last year I've decided to start incorporating these kind of things into the music for more like natural sounds. And I'm also really into field recording, so I like to spend time outside and just record little bits on my phone. And it's not just like birds and like nature stuff that I like. I also really like sounds of like the city, so like concrete and trucks. I like the idea of things just happening around you being part of the composition. And I think that's why I wasn't recording stuff for a long time. It's because I was very into the performance and the piece being part of the space and only existing within the time frame of like me playing in this venue right now. Whoever's here gets to hear it, and you are all part of it, both as like the receptors and as like the bounce back of the audience. And I think that's, I don't know, it felt very confined and contained, but now, you know, I'm more open to including other things. Sometimes I'll like walk around the house and I'll just like record myself like opening cabinets and like rubbing my hands and stuff like that. Last year, my friend Mike Barber and I went into the studio and we spent like 3 hours just recording us making like very, very soft body sounds. Like we had instruments as well, like we both bought our synths and a theremin and stuff, but we also like stood by the mics and rubbed our hands and like touched our hair. Like very gentle claps, like anything, we ripped paper, like all sorts of little sounds, and that kind of became part of something that we were working on later. It's not out yet. Who knows when it will be out.
I know the dynamics of things have changed now. It's probably been a while since you've been able to play a set at a venue with an audience. So what is your music process looking like? Like, how has it changed in the past year, and how are you distributing your music or sharing it with people?
Honestly, it has changed. I used to do a lot of live shows, like once or twice a month with the synthesizer. Now I do live shows, but they're pre-recorded, so I'll record at home, and I get to, it's nice because I get to like control the setting as well. Like I can bring the plants in and make like a cute little backdrop. It is still, I very much still try to treat it like a performance, so I record it one time and whatever happens, happens. I try to keep it within that like free-form improvisation state. But now, you know, now that I can record, I kind of like it, to be honest. I kind of like that I'm not performing as much because I've never been like a center of attention type person. I get like, I don't know, I don't always like people looking at me. I know that playing like watching somebody bent over some synthesizer, not doing a lot of movement isn't always the most like visually fascinating thing. So I do kind of like being able to work alone with nobody watching and then just show the finished product as like, oh, here's my EP. Like I just released my second EP on February 28th. It was called Violence Now, and it was nice to not have to share the process at all and to just be like, here's my finished product. It doesn't matter how I made it. Like this is what I've been doing in the last little while.
Yeah, in a way, not knowing the process behind it kind of makes it more mysterious, and as a form of art, it kind of piques your curiosity a little bit more because you're just kind of focusing on the present moment and how that listening experience makes you feel. I think of it almost like a watching an illusionist or a magician. Like I don't really care how he or she is creating the illusion. It's just the feeling of wonder is almost like beautiful enough in and of itself.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm a big like magic fan, and to me it's like, don't tell me the secret. Like I don't want to know how it's made. I just want to see the final result. And I feel that way a lot about modular synth and dance music because I don't like always want to tell people how I made it, because I feel like it kind of takes away a little bit of that magic. In modular synth, it's very common for people to be like, oh, what's that patch? Like, what pieces did you use? But I also think, like, what's interesting about modular synth is I could give somebody the same, like, 3 modules that I use to make whatever sound, and then they would come up with a totally different sound. So there's a lot of, like, mystery and intrigue and free-form experimentation, and just, like, you never know what's going to happen. It's very, like, laissez-faire.
That attitude that you have towards like experimenting, are you just kind of taking it as you go, or do you have new elements or new technologies that you want to explore in the future?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I want to work with in the future. There's a lot of different modules that I want to get. Something that just always, I can't always get them, you know, like it's an expensive hobby. I don't always have like an extra $500 to spend on a module, and unfortunately it's kind of like a pretty standard price. that, or like 200 or something. I just don't always have the money, especially now it's pandemic, like we're not performing, so there's not a lot of money coming in from live shows where there used to be. The way I try to keep like experimenting fresh and fun, even when I have the same stuff as before, is to create restrictions and limitations. I really like working within them, so I'll be like, okay, for the next like 2 weeks, whenever I play the synthesizer, I'm only going to use these 2 modules, or I'm just going to play only the drum for 2 weeks, and that'll be my like main way of making music. And I try to put in these like limits that make it that force me to be more creative with what I have, and to think harder about the things that I have, instead of sitting and being like, oh, if I had this module I could make this music. Because you can make any sound that you want. Like you can go in like the smack table and then you have like a snare drum, right? It's just about finding sound and everything. And I think it's why, I don't know, it's very important for me to find this like beauty in noise all around us.
Is there a certain kind of feeling that you want to evoke in people when they listen to your work, or is it more just you're putting something out there and people can interpret it however they want?
That's a good question. I think it's kind of a bit of both. I feel like when I release the final product, there is almost always some kind of story behind it. Like in my first EP, the main message, the story that I had in my head when I was recording it and working on it when I released it, where I was like, this EP is about a robot that wakes up in the forest and it comes to life there, and it's this machine surrounded by nature. And that was something that, I mean, it was very clear in the message, because one of the songs is literally called A Robot Coming to Life in the Forest. And to me, it's very storytelling, and I think people did pick up on that, because they kind of didn't really have a choice except to do that. But with other stuff, I don't even try to get a response. I think I just want to put it out there. I'm like, this is me, this is my self-expression. I try not to be so attached to people's responses, because I don't want to like take criticism so harshly and feel bad, but I also don't want to be so attached to compliments and feel so good that I'm only doing my work so that people give me a compliment or write nice things about my work. Like, it's always been such an intense form of self-expression that I try to detach from what other people say about it, unless, obviously I explicitly ask them, I'm like, hey, how can I improve? I just try to do what I need to do and say what I need to say, and then put it out publicly. That's why I feel like I just try to keep my music affordable. It's not on Spotify. Like, I really just don't even care a lot of the time if people listen to it or not. I think it's just something that I need to say. It's almost like a sound diary, as opposed to like just me writing down my diary. It's just another form of like, I'm gonna get it out there.
I think a lot of people struggle with putting their art out there, because regardless of what format that art comes in, it's you're revealing a piece of yourself to others. It's a very vulnerable state. And also, I think with the advent of social media, people can feel they really do take that feedback and comments to heart sometimes when they should not, or it makes them second guess themselves. So what advice would you give to people who are a little apprehensive? Maybe they're just recording music for fun and they don't feel comfortable putting themselves out there, like how they can overcome that self-doubt.
I think if you like really don't want to put something out there, then definitely don't put things out there. I think it's very important to have a hobby that's just for you, and that you don't like put on the internet for everyone to see. I think there are some things you can like kind of hold sacred and do just for yourself without like the showbiz or showing things to people. But I mean, if you do want to put things out and you're scared, I'm just gonna like give the same advice that I give to everybody. Like, just do it. You have to overcome your fear. Like, there's nothing that is waiting to it's right is gonna give you. Like, you can either do it now, or you could just not do it at all, or you could do it tomorrow. Like, the same feeling that you have of fear is gonna stay today, and it's gonna be there tomorrow until you finally overcome it. I'm always nervous to put things out because my work is heavily experimental. Like, I understand that it's not for everyone. A lot of people will listen to it and be like, this is not music, like this is just noise, like it's garbage. But like, to me, it evokes a lot of feeling and emotion, and I know what it is. Like, I have a lot of faith and pride and confidence in my work, so I don't care. Right? I think it's just about just doing it. I was very scared to put out my music, and I just had to do it because I said I was going to. And I guess that's something that helps too, is you tell people you're going to do it, and then if you don't want to look bad, just do it. I just, that accountability factor. I'm very big on like keeping up to promises. So if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm like, this is gonna happen. And if I don't do it, then I feel really, really bad and embarrassed after. And you don't want to feel like that. So just do the thing that you said you're gonna do. And I promise, even if people don't react positively to it, you'll know what happened. You'll know that it was something that you did authentically.
So where can people find more of your work? You mentioned you're on Bandcamp. If you can tell us what your name is there and anywhere else on social media they can follow you.
Yeah, I am on Bandcamp. It is Sonja, Sonja online .bandcamp.com. I actually just released a new song the other day. It's called Out of Mana, and it's like I played it on oranges. I have this like little synthesizer that you can like connect objects to, and so you can use the oranges as keys, and then I use the computer to find a MIDI keyboard, so I use that to play, which was a lot of fun. I have like a video somewhere I can send it to you if you want, but I have that on Bandcamp. I'm also on Twitter. No, I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, which is at @sonja_online. And I guess those are my main social medias. I also have a website. It's also sonjaonline.xyz, and those are my main websites that I post things on constantly.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you so much again.
Well, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the great conversation.